What's going on, guys? Welcome to our Eagles 2022 schedule reaction. We are breaking down the Eagles schedule just released just a moment ago. We're going to give our win predictions. Joining me, I've got my man, Coyle. What's up, Coyle?
What's up? How's it going?
It is going well, man. Eagles season is upon us. How many wins do they get? There's a lot of optimism, a lot of reasons to be excited about this Eagles squad. Let's jump right into this. Week 1 at Detroit, September 11th, 1 p.m. on Fox. You look at Detroit, they had a 3-13-1 record. This is going to be the second consecutive season. The Eagles head to Detroit, who ended a 3-game losing streak against the Lions back in 2021. The Eagles are 3-2 all-time at Ford Field. And then you got to start with quarterback here with Jared Goff. Average to above average starting quarterback in the NFL. Jared Goff is basically just this serviceable game manager. He's obviously not the long-term answer for the Lions at the position. From the surface, the roster looks much more composed than it did last year. They brought in a big-time edge rusher in Aiden Hutchinson. They added a potential number 1 wide receiver in Jameson Williams via the draft, who's going to help their offense, which ranked 25th in scoring last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a solid receiver. Finished last year with 6 consecutive games with at least 8 receptions and 70-plus yards. They also added a guy I wanted the Eagles to get here in DJ Chark Jr., and I think while the offense was going to struggle in 2022, there's definitely better pieces in play here. I'm going to go with an Eagles win on my end, leading it 1-0 in this season. What's your take on this?
I'm right there with you. I'm going to go with the Eagles win on this one. For some reason, the Eagles with Jared Goff, I just always like that. I see that matchup, even when it was with the Rams. I just see it, and I'm always just like, it's a win. It's a win for us. It's a win.
Yeah,
I see it. Win week 1.
Matchup to watch on that one is definitely like Aiden Hutchinson versus Jordan Mailata. That's going to be a lot of fun. We've got Michael in the house saying hi. What is going on? Let's go on to week number 2, which will be a Monday game against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings were 8-9 last year. You've got Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen. Obviously, this matchup is truly about getting a closer look at Justin Jefferson versus Jalen Reagor. That's going to be all the talk this week. Some big changes in Minnesota came after last year when they hired a new GM. They got a new head coach in Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell spent the last 2 years with the Rams as offensive coordinator. He was a big part of LA getting that Super Bowl ring. And then you look at the Eagles. They haven't beaten Kirk Cousins since signing with the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings added some capable defensive backfield talent in the draft. They added a lot of help on defense. Darius Smith from Green Bay is going to give them some added pass rush. They got that in free agency. But obviously this one circles back to Kirk Cousins and how well he plays in 2022. The Vikings finished 2021 11th in passing, 17th in rushing. So basically, if Kevin O'Connell and their new coaching staff can get more out of Kirk Cousins, I think this offense could have some potential here. They could have one of the better offenses in the conference. At worst, they should be an above-average unit. I see matchups to watch: A.J. Brown versus Justin Jefferson. Those two getting touchdowns is going to be a lot of fun to watch. However, yeah, let's go win. I'm going to go a win here. Eagles sitting 2-0. What about you?
So looking at this, it's going to be Eagles Open opener. So the crowd's going to be insane. I will most likely be there for that one, yelling, screaming, going nuts. I kind of go back and forth because we're going to start to hit a little pattern if I have a win here. So they might open up with a loss on this one, because if not, if not, like, I'm just looking at how he's saying we might go undefeated. So I gotta put a loss. I gotta put a loss in there somewhere. No, I can't do it. It's gonna be a win. It's gonna be a win. I can't do it.
All right, you're going for a win.
Going for a win.
All right, week 3 against Washington. It's a 1:00 game on Fox. Washington was 7-10 last year. Carson Wentz makes his epic return, or epic first game against the Philadelphia Eagles here. This matchup is going to be must-watch TV, especially since the Eagles are 8-2 in their last 10 games against the Washington Commanders. On offense, Carson Wentz is going to have to be far more consistent. He's going to have to play at a much higher level if the Commanders' offense wants to take a step forward in 2022. He hasn't been consistent since his Pro Bowl year back in 2017. He fell apart at the end of last year. The Colts needed one more win to get in the playoffs, and he had 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 turnovers in back-to-back losses to end the season. That's not good enough. Washington was 21st in total yards, 23rd in scoring last year. I like the Jahan Dotson pick. It was a little bit of reach, perhaps, but I think that's going to be a nice fit next to Terry McLaurin. And I think the Washington Commanders offensive line is a bit of a concern. They gave up 43 sacks last year, and they lost Brandon Scherff to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's going to be a major weakness. Obviously, their defensive line and their front seven will always be tough for Jalen Hurts. I'm going a loss here. I think the Eagles sit at 2-1 after this one. What about you?
I'm going to go with a win for this one. I just like the matchup. Our defensive line, you get Carson with some hot feet, get his feet moving, and I just think that this is going to turn into a win for him.
All right. So I'm sitting at 2-1. You're at 2-1, I believe, right?
I'm at 3-0 for right now. I changed Minnesota to a win, so I'm 3-0.
All right. Then we get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 1:00 game on CBS. You look at Jacksonville 3-14 last year. Obviously, Doug Peterson here, the only coach in franchise history to win a Super Bowl, returns to face the Philadelphia Eagles. They have a statue of Doug Peterson in the stadium, so there's going to be obviously a loud standing ovation for Doug Peterson this one. The Eagles haven't lost to Jacksonville since 2006. I think this one comes down to second-year Trevor Lawrence adjusting to a somewhat more controlled situation under Doug Peterson. The Jaguars absolutely knocked it out of the park, adding Travon Walker and Devin Lloyd, 2 guys who I absolutely loved in this draft. 2 insanely high ceilings. And if they're utilized correctly, I think they're going to completely transform this Jackson Jaguars defense. But like I said, this begins and ends with Trevor Lawrence. Can he rebound from a horrific rookie season? Lawrence finished 2021 with 3,600 plus yards, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, and a 71.9 quarterback rating. That's not good enough. They have better pieces in place here. They have a better supporting cast. They have some dangerous weapons in the backfield, and now they have a head coach with Super Bowl experience. Eagles get the win here. Nick Sirianni versus Doug Peterson is going to be the storyline. I'm at 3-1. What about you?
This is gonna be my loss coming in.
Wow.
And the reason where it is I think this is a game the Eagles should win, but I think it's gonna be coming off of a Washington win and looking towards the Cardinals. I think they're just gonna have that dip and they're gonna overlook this game. Also, I needed a loss, so I think this is where this is going to be. Coming at. Also, and I think with like kind of what you were saying with Jacksonville, kind of the pieces they added, bringing in a coach. With a Super Bowl championship, I think that's going to kind of do wonders for that team.
Yeah, absolutely. How Doug gets Trevor Lawrence going, I think, is one of the more interesting subplots of this NFL season. Trevor Lawrence is a terrific prospect. Hopefully he gets it going. Week 5 at Arizona. Arizona was 11-6 last year. It hasn't been the best offseason for Arizona. They entered the 2022 season without DeAndre Hopkins for about a third of the year, who's facing a 6-game suspension. They spent their highest draft pick on a second tight end. So if you look at those numbers, they used a tight end on 22% of the snaps. That's not exactly using your resources there. It gets even worse when you consider that 2 of their first-round picks only played 40% of the snaps during their first seasons, respectively. And then you get to Kyler Murray, obviously absolutely electric in his own right. And then, this game's all about Zach Ertz playing against his former team here. That is an absolute must-see. The Eagles have not won in Arizona since 2001. They never won a game in State Farm Stadium. The Cardinals feature a potential top 10 offense in the NFL. They're 8th in total yards, 11th in scoring last year. If healthy, this offense is legit. I've got a loss for the Eagles in this one. What about you?
I also have a loss in this one. I think just we haven't really solved a lot of our secondary issues correctly yet. We do have some linebackers that I think are going to be able to kind of do some shadowing and do something with Kyler Murray. But we're really going to see if Hopkins being out because of the PEDs is what really is going to affect this team. So if it's not that much of as an effect for it, this team's still going to be a great juggernaut when it comes to the offense. So.
All right. All right. Let's roll on to week 6. Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football. Dallas was 12-5 last year. The Eagles are trying to end a 3-game losing streak against Dallas. Jalen Hurts is 0-2 in his 2 starts against the Dallas Cowboys. You look at Jalen Hurts, getting it done against good competition is the storyline for this year. He only beat one team with a winning record last year. That was the New Orleans Saints. So what a huge game in week 6 for Jalen Hurts. The Cowboys offense was number 1 in the league statistically across the board, total yards scoring. But they've definitely taken a step back this offseason. They're kind of in this weird spot. Amari Cooper was traded to the Browns. Noel Collins signed with the Bengals. Randy Gregory signed with the Broncos in free agency. Michael Gallup signed a new big contract extension with Dallas, but he's still recovering from a torn ACL back in week 17. Zeke Elliott, Tony Pollard, those guys are studs in the backfield, but Elliott is definitely on the tail end of his career. He only averaged 4.2 yards per carry, and that offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys, although they brought in Tyler Smith, who's an athletic freak in the first round. I love that pick. Very, very good pick. That offensive line for the Cowboys is not that great. I think the Cowboys take a step backwards. However, I think the Eagles lose this one. Shockingly, I think the Cowboys get them. What about you?
So I have a win here because I'm coming off of 2 back-to-back losses. Going into the bye, I think this is going to be a 10-16. That's a Sunday night game. So that's going to be a win for me. I just think having those back-to-back, it's going to be a need to win game for us. So I give it a win.
All right. So I'm sitting at 3-3 at the bye. What are you?
I am also 3-3 at the bye.
All right.
4-2. 4-2.
4-2 at the bye. I've got them at 3-3. Let's go on to week 6 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a 1:00 game on CBS. Pittsburgh was 9-7-1 last year. And for the first time since 2020, the Eagles and Steelers will face off in the Battle of the Keystone State. Pittsburgh hasn't beaten the Eagles in Philly since 1965. How about that? And the Eagles have won 9 straight. The Steelers had a lot of change this offseason, most notably with the Kenny Pickett era beginning in 2022. Despite Big Ben's retirement, the Steelers are still loaded at the skill position here. They've got Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Chase Claypool. This is the wide receiver factory. And they just added a couple good ones in George Pickens, who I absolutely wanted for the Philadelphia Eagles. I had a first-round grade on him. And one of my biggest sleepers of the draft, Calvin Austin III. But obviously, Kenny Pickett and his development is the obvious question mark heading into this season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But there's also some other concerns. The Steelers' offensive line needs to get better. They need to improve. Allowed 38 sacks, 29th in yards per rush with Najee Harris. So that needs to get better. So they're clearly hoping that James Daniels and Mason Cole help this offensive line. But is it enough? I don't think it is. My matchups to watch, Kenny Pickett versus Jonathan Gannon is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I've got the Eagles but beating the Pittsburgh Steelers and moving on to 4-3. What about you?
I have a win as well. Coming off of a bye, we're either looking at Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett. So it's one of those. It's gonna have to be a win. Plus, I hate the Steelers, so we can't lose that game.
I know, absolutely. Our friends would kill us. They would absolutely kill us. Let's roll in to week 9 at the Houston Texans. Thursday night football. The Texans were 4-13 on the season. Philly has never lost a game in Houston, just 2-0 though, in their appearances at NRG Stadium. The Eagles are 5-0 all time against the Texans, but they have definitely improved this offseason. Derek Stingley Jr. was a very good pick for the Texans in this draft. He's going to help them kind of reshape this defense. But let's talk about the offense, which ranked 32 in total yards, 30th in scoring last year. Davis Mills is the guy now again as the starting quarterback. He put up 2,600 plus yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 receptions, and a really solid passer rating of 88.8. The Texans obviously need to get immediate impact from rookie Kenyon Green at guard because they don't really have much else at the skill positions. Rookie John Mechie is a really good pick for them, but he suffered a torn ACL in the SEC championship game. So when he returns is up in the air. Obviously, the Texans have a long way to go. I've got the Eagles getting the W here, moving on to 5-3. A.J. Brown versus Derek Stingley Jr. is going to be a ton of fun. 5-3. What about you?
This is one of those where I also think this might just be a letdown play game. Like it's an overlooked game. Coming off of probably a big win with Pittsburgh, I think they may just get a loss just because, coming off by getting that win and just being a loss from that, just looking schedule wise of where it is. But it should be a win, but I'm going to go down as a loss just because it's the NFL.
All right. Quentin says, I agree that we start 3-3. I don't know how. All right. Week 10, the Washington Commanders on, again, Monday Night Football here. Do I go win or loss? My gut says we lose this game. But are we really going to lose back-to-back games against Washington? I don't think so. No. I'm going to go a win here. The Eagles move on to 6-3 on the season. What about you?
I also have a win sweeping the Commanders, the Washington football team. I'm just going to call them the Washington football team because I can never remember it. But I also am going to have another win here for them.
Love it. All right. Let's roll on here to week 11 at the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts were 9-8 last year. You start off with former Eagle Rodney McLeod coming and trying to make life hell for Jalen Hurts. They also got Yannick Ngakoue, DeForest Buckner, Darius Leonard. So there's definitely some guys on defense that could become a problem. But when you talk about the Colts, you got to talk about Matt Ryan. He looks to improve an offense. That was 16th in total yards, 9th in scoring last year. Carson Wentz was inconsistent. So anything Matt Ryan can bring will probably be an improvement. Most of the reason why I think they were successful in offense was Jonathan Taylor. The dude led the NFL with over 1,800 plus rushing yards, scored 20 combined touchdowns. Question marks include their offensive line, especially left tackle. You look at former Eagle Matt Pryor, who is looking like he might get the job there at tackle for the Colts, which has got to be a big problem. And they don't have they're not very good at with their receiving core. Michael Pittman Jr., Paris Campbell. They did bring in second-round pick Alec Pierce, who has a lot of athleticism, but he's a bit raw. He's a project. And they don't really have a true tight end star. I love that they picked up Jelani Woods, who is one of my biggest sleepers in this draft in the third round. But the Eagles haven't lost to the Colts since 2006. I'm going to keep that running. Eagles get the win, move on to 7-3. What about you?
I have a loss here. I tend to be a little bit on the back end side with my losses because we're a little bit heavy on the wins in the beginning. But I just think Matty Ice coming through, kind of a new team, new everything, and I think he's gonna kind of take that step up for that team. You kind of talk about running backs and the ability for how they can run that ball. So putting an actual quarterback with that running back, it's going to be a problem. So.
Yep.
I go with the loss.
Lost week 12, Green Bay Packers, Sunday Night Football. They got a lot of primetime games here. Packers were 13-4 last year. The Packers offense is legit. 10th in total yards, 10th in scoring last year. Aaron Rodgers re-upped with the Packers on a new 3-year, $150+ million extension. They added Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, two very talented speedsters at the wide receiver position, hoping to replace Devontae Adams, who really is you can't replace a Devontae Adams here. And they also added two Georgia Bulldogs on defense, not unlike the Eagles, with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. So how the Packers adjust without Devontae Adams will be everything for this potent offense. Devontae Adams had 26+% of the targets for the Packers last year. And the Eagles are 1-5 against Aaron Rodgers all time. I've got a loss. Eagles move to 7-4. What about you?
I also have a loss for this one, and I think that puts me to 6-5 for where we're at.
All right, you're at 6-5. I'm actually higher than you. I'm at 7-4.
I have my this middle area is going to be it was all my losses. So we kind of start off real hot, and then it kind of dies off.
All right, let's roll on to week 13 against the Tennessee Titans, a 1:00 game. Finally, I love me some 1:00 games on CBS. The Titans were 12-5 last year. Obviously, the revenge game of A.J. Brown is all about week 13. The Eagles are 1-5 in their last 6 games against the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are obviously they're going to be competitive, but I think you got to wonder what the shelf life of this team is moving forward. And speaking of shelf life, Ryan Tannehill now has big-time prospect Malik Willis sitting in the batter's circle. The wrinkles the Titans could add with Malik Willis with the 5th best rushing attack in the NFL could be really, really fun. I expect the Titans to kind of use Malik Willis as a gadget guy early on in his career. And then you've got Henry, who is just an absolute beast. He did miss 9 games last year, but he still had 10 touchdowns. Continues to be one of the big league's best home run hitters. And they've got Treylon Burks, who's one of my favorite prospects in the entire draft. They also brought in tight end Austin Hooper and traded for Robert Woods. I think they're going to buck the trend here. This is one of those games where I think the Eagles shock and get the W, move on to 8-4. What about you?
I also think that's going to be a win. Coming off of two losses, coming with that they're going to be a need to win, and I just think A.J. Brown's going to have just a monster game, saying like this is what you could have had, you decided you didn't want it, and I think he's just going to put up numbers, and that's going to be a win. All
right, moving on to week 14. Quentin is at 6-5. Week 14 at the New York Giants, December 11th. 1:00 game on Fox. Giants were 4-13. This is going to be the Eagles' first time matching up against Brian Daboll as head coach. The Eagles are 13-3 in their last 16 games against the Giants. They split the season series last year in 2021. Just like Jalen Hurts, I think this is put up or shut up time for Daniel Jones. The Giants did not pick up his 5th-year option. Daniel Jones went 4-7 as a starter last year, had an 84.8 passer rating. The Giants' offense is simply dreadful, nearly the worst in the league in pretty much every stat offensively. I think they did a great job in this draft, though. They brought in offensive tackle prospect Evan Neal. That's going to help an offensive line that gave up 38 sacks last year. They also need a healthy Saquon Barkley. It feels like an eternity ago that Saquon Barkley was a rookie Pro Bowl dude putting up 2,000 plus yards. And then you've got some interesting skill guys. You got Kenny Galladay. You've got Kadarius Toney. You've got rookie Wan'Dale Robinson, who's a speedster. Great hands. But let's be honest, like if Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley don't have a huge year, I think it's going to be a long year for the Giants. I've got them winning this game, and I've got the Eagles going to 8-5. What about you?
I also have them winning this game. With that, I just think first game, I don't think the Giants are going to be matching up well against, especially with some of the pieces that we had, like you said, within the defensive line. And I just think it's going to be Daniel Jones running around with his head like a chicken with his head cut off back there, and we get the W.
Love it. Sorry, I'm at 8-4.
I lost my count. I lost my page of what I had. So let me just count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That puts me with 9 wins. With that, so
all right,
yeah.
Okay. Week 15 at the Chicago Bears is a 1:00 game on Fox. Chicago was 6-11 last year. Justin Fields in year 2 is going to be a lot of fun. He's trying to mirror the success of Jalen Hurts, clearly. The Eagles have won 5 straight against the Bears and haven't lost in Chicago since 2010. When you look at Chicago, there are definitely some concerns Most of Chicago's draft picks were 6th or 7th round picks, and they were both tackles. And then you kind of look at, what the Bears did to help Justin Fields in year 2, and they really haven't done anything. This is an offense that was 24th in total yards, 27th in scoring. Justin Fields was taken down 36 times in 12 games, under pressure in 27.3% of his dropbacks. And their pass protection on offense is poor. You saw Justin Fields struggle consistently with poor game management, poor game planning. And then really the big addition for this Chicago Bears offense is Velus Jones Jr. in the 3rd round of the draft. Is not good enough. They lost Allen Robinson. This roster makes you want to scratch your head. I have the Eagles sitting at 8-4, and I think this is going to be one of those like letdown games. This screams like a letdown game for the Eagles. I have them moving to 8-5 on the season. What about you?
So I actually I watched a ton of Bears games last year. They just can't put games together. And I think it's going to continue this year. That's going to be a win for me.
All right. You get the W there. I'm at 8-5, I believe.
Puts me at 10-5.
Wow. You're at 10-5? Hold on.
10-5.
I don't think that math works.
Yeah.
All right, we're at week 16.
Oh, 16. Whoops. I missed him. 10-4. I'm at 10-4.
Damn. All right. We've got week 16 at Dallas. I've got a loss. This is a Christmas Eve game at 4:25 p.m. on Fox. I think they get the L on this one and move to 8-6. What about you?
So I also have a loss in this one. This is going to be one of those where I think it's going to be like they just need one more game for whatever. With three games left, just looking at like how the standings are going to be, and I think this is going to be their loss, thinking that we'll be getting one of the wins within their last 2 games.
Yeah, I've got the Sixers game on here. My math isn't exactly correct, but we're going to keep rolling. Week 17, New Orleans Saints. It's a New Year's Day game, 1 p.m. on Fox. The Saints were 9-8 last year. It's a 3rd consecutive time these teams will face off at Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles won both those matchups. Of course, they have Jameis Winston at quarterback this time around, though. The Saints, I think, are betting big time on Trevor Penning in the 1st round there. Really good prospect, but he's not – I don't know how much of a plug-and-play dude that guy is. He's a little bit of a developmental guy. They also added a speedster in Chris Olave out of Ohio State in the 1st round, who's a very good prospect. So getting ready for year 2 of Jameis Winston. He suffered a torn ACL last October, but when he was playing, it was good. 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 102-plus passer rating. It's pretty solid, but when he went down, the Saints offense just wasn't good enough. So the questions are, like, can quarterback Jameis Winston and stud wide receiver Michael Thomas return from injury, return to form in 2022? Will the Saints offense look improved even without, offensive guru Sean Payton no longer on that field? There's a lot to be excited about on paper, but I think everything boils down to whether or not Jameis Winston can stay healthy and they can bounce back. But I've got a win here. What about you?
I also have a win here. I think this is going to be the win that they need for this to kind of just clinch something. They get the win here. Kind of go get their 11th win.
All right. And then we've got week 18 against the New York Giants. I've also got a win. What about you?
I have a loss. I think that people are going to be benched. They're not going to be players playing. And it's just going to come down to they don't need it. It's going to be a loss.
All right. So what is your tally here for the Eagles?
We got to see if I did correct math. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 11 wins, which would put us at 6 losses. So 11-6.
I'm at 12-5. That can't be right.
No.
Are we really that high on the Eagles this year?
I think it's just matchups. Like I'm looking at the schedule, and the schedule just seems like it's a very
It's a favorable schedule, yeah.
Yeah.
But every year is different. Every week, you never know.
Correct.
And the Eagles, who I think did okay last year, kind of like playing up to good competition. Yeah, I'm at 12-5.
I mean, I'm also expecting big things from Hurts this year. Like it's like I have very high expectations for him. Just some of the things we've been hearing in the offseason. I think it could be a decent year. Excuse me, decent year.
What a ride, man! Like you look at week 3, you look at week 4. You've got Eagles versus Carson Wentz, week 3. You've got Sirianni versus Peterson, week 4. Week 5, you got Zach freaking Ertz. Week 6, Dallas Cowboys. Unbelievable! Like bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
That is going to be so fun, man. The NFL is never boring.
No, and when you look at this, like to be honest with you, going into week 5, Eagles could be 4-0. Like truly could be 4-0 going into week 5. They potentially could be undefeated going their bye week.
Yeah. And I like the fact that they're not playing the Green Bay Packers, the Tennessee Titans, the New Orleans Saints there till later in the year as well. I like that a lot. You know, that's when their running game just starts to dominate and just crush teams. So I like that a lot. I think this is a favorable schedule. I take pride in like thinking I'm not a homer. And I can't believe I'm just stunned that I just said the Eagles are going to go 12-5. I'm just stunned.
I mean, I did almost go 17-0. When I looked at the schedule, I was like, I mean, we can win every game if we get lucky. I mean, all we got to beat is, Colts and Packers,
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Just beat those two. We're 17-0.
All right, let's lock it down, guys. What do you think about the Eagles schedule? How many wins are the Eagles going to get? Let us know down there in that comment section. Do you like this video? Give this video a like if you love the Philadelphia Eagles. If you're excited about the Philadelphia Eagles, thank you everyone for watching. If you're watching us here on Thursday night, we'll be also doing a post-game reaction of the Sixers game, which is not going well here in the second half. But thank you guys for watching. For Coyle, for myself,